Okay, welcome to this bonus episode of rental house versus high income ETFs. So, all year I've been doing this. I have the comparison of the ETFs to the rental house, and every month people say, how about maintenance costs? How about this? How about that? I understand that, and I had never taken the time to really look to see what maintenance cost average over time or what it would be going forward. So, today, because it's been asked for, I'm gonna compare those things. So this is gonna be a little bit different format, but still subscribe. This is never financial advice, just telling you how my life is going. And so if you're watching this for the very first time, haven't seen anything else, we sold this house in October 2024. We closed on it. Took the 70,000 that we ended up with, put into covered call ETFs. And my theory when we start selling all these houses was that we could do a lot better just collecting distributions from different types of funds than collecting rent at this point in our lives and less headache and everything. So keep on going. So when we collect distributions, I consider that a replacement for the rent that we collect. So for example, in October, this is all the distributions that we collected for the month of October, which is almost 4,000. And these are each month that we collected. I'm not sure what the average is, but 44,000 for the year. So if you divide that by 12, get your average. So what, maybe not quite 4,000 a year, but you get the idea by looking at this. And quickly, I projected this is how things would go, and this is how things ended up after 1 year. If you watched my other video, you already saw this. So we ended up at so that 70,000 that we started that 70,000 here projected 70,000 here real life. It ended up at 95,500, 36% return for the year. I projected 103 and a 48% return. Yeah, call me crazy and unrealistic, but that's what I did. And it's my video, so I can do what I want. And if you've been watching that, I do this estimate of how the house would do each month. And I was estimating 80 for insurance, 200 for taxes, and $700 a month collected total. And I also figured in appreciation of the house of 4% per year, which is about $233 a month. So the house would be worth like 73,000 at the end of 1 year. So let's look at something else here, shall we? Okay, so what we got here is the past 3 or 4 years. So I say 3 or 4 because we sold the house in 2024, so we didn't get a full year of expenses here. So this is directly off our tax return. So rents received all the way down to other. So it's numbered just like it would be on the tax form. So I went back to 2021. It shows the rents collected and auto and travel and insurance and legal and repairs, taxes, and depreciation. Over here, I put the averages. So average rents received, you see over here for the month, look at this monthly average. So average monthly we collected was 609. There were a few times where the renter didn't pay their rent. Renter had suffered some injuries, and I gave them a couple times some free rent just to help them out. And yeah, that's landlords shouldn't do that, but I did. So back here in 2021, I gave them a 3 months rent for something that happened in 2023. I gave them a couple months rent. I'm not exactly sure how that ended up with 50 here, but anyhow, it is what it is. So auto travel, 1 month here was big. So we were living in Utah and we made a special trip here to address some issues with the house. I can't remember. I think it was some windows got broke out and we had to come here. And so some people might say you came here just to replace the windows. This was toward the end of COVID. It was hard to get anybody to do anything. And people say you spent 1,400 bucks to come here to fix the windows. It's probably cheaper than hiring somebody, to be honest. So yeah, that's what happened. Cleaning and maintenance. Insurance, see how insurance fluctuated and went up. I'm not exactly sure why it went down here, but it did. Legal costs, we had an LLC, so we divided the LLC cost amongst each property a little bit. Legal cost, repairs. So this 2023, I think I replaced what I replaced in 2023. I thought I replaced the windows in 2022, but we obviously did something in 2023. Taxes, you see taxes creeping up. Yeah, creeping up. They're probably 2,400 now. The depreciation is not figured into the total expenses here. It just shows what we were depreciating each year and what the average was. So the monthly averages here here's what we got for the monthly averages. And so the monthly average, and this is not counting depreciation, and it's not calculating the rent. So the formula just covers the expenses, not the depreciation. So about $368 a month in total expenses. And you can see these here. So when I did my guesstimates, I was guesstimating like 200 for taxes each month and 80 for insurance. And you can see that the actual cost here for insurance was 51, but it may be 80 now because insurance has really gone up. And you can see the taxes were 153 and my guesstimate was 200. So I was off a little bit, but really when you figure in the other expenses, my total monthly expenses for the past 3 years, for these 3 years, was $368. Now, I did throw the 2024 expenses in here so you can see, and these are skewed because we sold the house in October, so these are not a full year of expenses and rents and everything. And you can see too, the utilities shot way up. The tenants paid their own utilities, but when we took it over to fix it up to sell it, obviously we were paying for utilities. And speaking of selling it, so when we sold it, we did a lot of work. We had some soffit and fascia and gutters redone. We had some roofing repairs done. In February, we were planning on selling it sometime in 2024. So we started having some repairs done. So we had some different roof repairs done, some soffit and fascia. We had a sewer line plugged. So these expenses went on to the basis for the house. So these that get counted as a monthly expense. The sewer line probably could have been counted as a monthly expense, and some of these things could have been counted as a monthly expense, but it is what it is. I replaced a window that was broken, the glass, and we bought some paint and stuff, but all this stuff was included into the basis on the selling side of it, if that makes sense, not the monthly expenses. These are all the different expenses, and you can see that as we were getting the house prepped to sell, we spent $14,000 on it. We sold the house for $85,000, so we ended up with about 70,000. And that 70,000 that we ended up with is what we used to invest in the ETF. So we didn't invest 85,000 because we didn't end up with 85,000. Plus we had some commission and closing costs and some different things, but those were just a few thousand. Our realtor charges less than 6%, actually gave us a good deal. So we might have only ended up with 65,000, but anyhow, we stuck 70,000 into the ETFs in the account. So if you figure that average, that's another $300 a month for 4 years, for 48 months, that if I would have been doing these things and averaged it along the way, that's another $300. So anyhow, I didn't, if you include that in there, then we're talking about what, 360 plus another 300. So like almost $700 a month average in total expenses if you include all these repairs we did when we sold the place. And would we have painted it? Would we have done these? All this stuff needed to be done. And I could have been doing it right along the way. But the other thing is we decided to start selling our properties about 3, 4, 5 years ago. So this was part of a bigger plan. And So this is one example of one house, and we did this multiple times with different houses. Okay. So we attacked one house at a time. So instead of having 4 or 5 roofing projects and soffit and fascia projects going on at once, we, as renters moved out and as they just however things happened to fall, we would pick a house, we'd replace the flooring, we would maybe paint the inside and outside if it needed it, do any roofing repairs or soffit and fascia. I think we put new soffit fascia and gutters on all the houses to make it look nice, plus painted the exteriors. And so we fixed them up so the neighborhoods would look better. We landscaped, mulch, just simple things, and painted the insides, replaced flooring where needed, which was mostly everywhere. Some cases replaced countertops and maybe the kitchen sink and maybe painted the cabinets or did whatever we needed to do. Maybe replace a bathroom vanity and replace some doors on the inside. So the houses were like easily could qualify for FHA loans and stuff if somebody would buy them. And that was the idea because when you make a house available in that price range that would pass FHA, you open your doors to like 1,000 extra potential buyers, and then you can make the appraised value higher too. So we raise the value of the houses. Now that I got all that out of the way, let's look at one more thing here. Okay, so going forward, I went back and you've seen the screenshot of the house, like the expenses. Let's look at that again. So this is how we used to look at things like this here, rent collected and the taxes and insurance. So going forward, now that I know exactly about what the average expenses were, what I will do is put a new number in there of $375 a month for expenses. And that doesn't include any mortgage payments. This is just my average over the past 3, 4 years, not including paint and all that other stuff. So, like I said, if we would include the painting and all that, took that 14,000, divided it up over 48 months, we're looking at breaking even basically. And deep down, I knew that renting this house and everything, I was basically breaking even. But the thing I was counting on was depreciation of the house and putting value into it and then fixing it up before we sold it and then cashing in that way a little bit. So if you go back to when we bought the house, maybe 10, 12 years ago, we paid probably 27,000 for it and put maybe 5,000 into it then to make it bring it up to snuff to be able to rent it. And then we've been renting it, breaking even for 10 years, maybe coming out a little bit ahead. And then we sold it for 85,000, let's say 70,000 after all expenses. So we made, I said we had 30,000 into it, sold it for 70. So we made like 40,000 on it from what we paid for it, what we sold it. So that's basically really the money we stuck in our pocket, basically. But in the meantime, we paid it off. So the mortgage did pay the expenses and the renters basically paid the house off for us. So anyhow, if I scroll down, I unhid all these. Oh, I got mistake here. I gotta get rid of these two. But anyhow, basically this is how things will look in the future when I continue comparing apples to apples. I'll have the actual more accurate 4-year average. If you haven't been paying attention and having some other videos, this is how things actually compared after 1 year. The house would have been worth about 77,000 plus the cash value of the here, like collecting the cash each month of $5,000 total for 12 months, and then the equity 77,000, and then so 77,000. The ETF I'm sitting at 95,000. So by selling the house, I'm up $17,000. So that 70,000 turned into 95,000. So there you go. That's a 1 year update of how things really were. So there you go. Hope you continue watching these and we'll see you on the next video.